This is unrelated, but right before we started, we were saying that it's funny that in the 70s, David Bowie, instead of just admitting that he was bisexual, he tried to sell it as, no, I'm just from space. This is just how people look in space. You're like, you look kind of like a lady. You're like, yeah, I'm just from space. But also, you're all welcome backstage.
He's a bit of a star man.
He's a bit of a star man. He's a star man. I'm just from space.
Yeah.
In space, the women are men. Starman. This is a movie about how your dreams coming true is the worst thing that can happen to you.
Oh, no.
But the sad thing is, most people don't get to realize it. Mm-hmm. The sad thing about your dream coming true isn't that it's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's that it'll never happen and then make you appreciate your life before.
Oh, boy.
This is one of my favorite movies. It's called The End of the Tour. Have we talked about this?
No.
And it's based on a true story, and the acting is so good, where it's the moment in the 90s that Infinite Jest came out, and David Foster Wallace became an overnight like wonderkin literary sensation. Mm-hmm. And this one guy, played by Jesse Eisenberg, he has to go, and this is based on his actual writing, he has to go interview David Foster Wallace for Rolling Stone. And they're like, just hang out with this guy, figure out how this genius works. But the Eisenberg character, Foster Wallace is played by the guy who showed his dick in Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Jason Segel.
Segel, yes. So Segel does a great job, and their whole dynamic is interesting because
also, it's funny that he also wrote and directed that whole movie, and you're like, yeah, the guy who shows his dick in it.
Well, that's what you're going to be remembered for.
Yeah, exactly.
If I show my dick at a party, I'm not going to be like, and I brought the dip. Why is everybody just talking about my dick? I set up the karaoke machine. I hung the streamers, you fucks. Yeah, but when you take your penis out, it negates everything else you did really in your life up to that point. I'm sorry. So anyway, Dickhead Jones is in it. Old Balls and Cock McGillicuddy is in it. I just can't stop thinking about this guy's dong. So anyway, in that movie, which is, I'll come back to the other movie. Yeah. In that movie, there's this great scene at the end, because the whole time Eisenberg just wants, he's a writer, and he's trying to figure out, it's like he's tortured by the fact he's just smart enough to realize how much better than him David Foster Wallace is. Kind of like Salieri and Amadeus. Salieri's burden was that he was just enough of a genius to realize how he was nothing compared to Amadeus. Yeah, so the whole movie, Eisenberg is like, this is the genius I don't have. I just want to be, this is what, we all aspire to that, right? And the end of the movie, Foster Wallace, he's leaving, and Foster Wallace says, I really hope that you get what I have. I really hope you get literary fame and recognition too, just because I want you to know that it doesn't help. Oh. I need you to know it doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
That's the only reason to get it. So this movie is that, but with wolves. So it starts off. Oh, you know what's funny? It starts off, Michael J. Fox is on a basketball team, and the basketball team is horrible.
Yeah.
Just to show how mediocre his life is. You know, the first shot, I just realized the first shot is from below, looking up at the ceiling of the basketball gymnasium, and it shows the perfect round light. It's a full moon. Oh. And then his head comes into frame because he's shooting free throws. So you see like a full moon. Yeah, they lose like 71 to 12.
Okay.
And then there's one fat guy on the team.
Oh, that's fun.
Named Chubbs.
Chubbs.
Which is weird that he's on the basketball team. And then they go to the locker room, and Michael J. Fox is like, Chubbs, I've been thinking about it. I think maybe you're taking in more calories on a daily basis than you're burning. Have you ever thought of it? I think the amount of food it takes to make someone no fun to look at is the amount of food. I've been thinking about this. I think you're eating the amount of food that makes someone look like you. And did you ever think about eating the amount of food that I'm eating? Skinny people are the worst. He's really just giving him, because he's like taking all the food out of his locker, and he's like, Chubbs, I think you're eating a lot of food. And he's like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
The thing that makes me feel good is the one thing ruining my life. I live in a nightmare. Fuck you.
Oh, fuck.
So there's a guy named Chubbs. I think the reason their team is so bad is they just picked players who they could give funny nicknames to. They're like, yeah, we got Chubbs and fucking Nervous Ned, the Butterfinger twins. Maybe we shouldn't have picked players based on their nicknames. Gassy Larry, the Seizure Kid. So the theme of the movie is chasing after something that won't make your life better and then finding that out. And that's why the hero of the movie is Coach Finstock. This is the greatest character in cinema, and he has the greatest lines. Okay. These lines are why I wanted to bring this movie up. Because there's a scene where Michael J. Fox is talking to his best friend, Boof. Here's what's funny is he has this best friend who's cute and is in love with him, and he just doesn't care. Okay. And her name's Boof. And then there's another cute girl who's the blonde popular girl who he's pining after, and her name's Pamela. But I think maybe it's just the name thing. Yeah. Like they should have called the popular girl like Tra-la-la-la-la, and then called the other girl Barf. And then his whole hero's journey is just realizing that they're both hot women and being it's okay to love a woman named Barf. I think Boof is short for Barf. But he's like, but the other girl is exactly as attractive, but her name is like, her name is like, ooh, my pussy, ooh. Her name is Ooh, it tickles. She should be on the basketball team. Wait, Boof should have been on the basketball team with Chubby and Nervous Ned. So here's the crux of the movie: is he's walking home with Boof.
This is the crux.
Boof. The other guy's name is Styles. So we've got Chubbs, Styles, and Boof. Okay. So he's walking home, and he's like, I just don't want to be ordinary. See, this is the thing. He's got a great life in a small town. He works at his dad's hardware store, and he's like, this town's too small. He's not happy. He's like, my worst fear is being ordinary. But Boof's like, hey, you got a great life. I'm here. Your dad owns the hardware store. And he's just like, I need more. See, he's not happy. But to contrast that, the great character, the coach is the opposite of a coach. Because the point of a coach is to be inspirational. And this guy's so zen, he barely exists.
What?
Like in the middle of the game they're losing, he goes up to the other coach and says, like, we don't need to finish this, do we? Like, you know how it's so funny that they just make him the opposite of a coach is supposed to be the guy that inspires the team. Yeah. This guy's the least interested guy on the team. He's just this like middle-aged guy who's always chewing gum. Okay. And the other coach is like, we have to finish the game. And he's like, well, if it's so important to you, fine. Jesus, you guys are taking this too seriously. And then he goes to him for advice. And he's like, you said we could always come to you, coach, for advice. And he's like, yeah, I guess. I know I said that. He's like eating Kentucky Fried Chicken. He's like, I'm very busy right now. And then he tells him a story. He's like, I want to quit the team. Jay Fox wants to quit the team because he's in love with this blonde girl who's doing a play. He wants to join the play. So then he's like, let me tell you a story about another little kid who wanted to quit because his mom was real sick and she had a pin in her hip and she was crippled and she had 4 jobs. And he came to me one day and he wanted to quit too. He said he couldn't take it. And then Jay Fox is like, yeah, then what happened? He's like, oh, I let him quit. I didn't need him. He's like, basketball's not that important. Who gives a shit? So he goes to his dad's hardware store and he starts hearing this like horrible screeching sound and he realizes it's a kid with a whistle. And then he realizes it's a dog whistle. So he's hearing dog whistle. At times, his hands get hairy, and then it goes away real quick. And he's like, what's happening to my body? Something's going on with him, you know? And the principal hates him. He's kind of giving him dirty looks in the hallway. He goes to the play to deliver stuff from the hardware store. The hot girl, the popular girl Pamela's there rehearsing. And he asks her, I think he awkwardly asks her, there's a big party tonight. And she says, well, I'm going with my boyfriend who's the most popular. It's always, in these movies, the good-looking people are always complete assholes.
It's a very 80s thing, right?
In real life, pretty people aren't assholes.
Yeah. Well, they're not. Everybody's nice to them. So they're like...
No, in real life, pretty people are the nicest people. Yeah. They don't understand why you're crying. Their feet don't touch the ground. Actual attractive people, they float on a cloud of other people's wanting to fuck them. Ugly people are fucking the ones that are angry all the time. Yeah. The past was doing its best.
That's the theme song.
Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. They were doing their best.